Okay, let's dive right into this explainer with a pretty hard truth about human potential. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why two people, literally standing on the exact same starting line with the exact same opportunities, can end up with completely different lives? It's kind of wild, right? It's one of the most fascinating paradoxes out there. We see it in business, we see it in education, relationships, the whole shebang. So today, we're going to unpack the architecture behind that level of achievement. We often look at those divergent paths and just assume the answer is luck. We think, oh, they caught a break, or the universe just favored them. But the source material we're analyzing today reveals something way more profound. It fundamentally comes down to one single thing you actually control: your mindset. Specifically, the really stark contrast between what our source defines as a poor mindset and a pro mindset. All right, let's get into section 1, reactions to adversity. So, when looking at a difficult situation, a person with a poor mindset immediately fixates on the obstacles. Their vision just narrows. Literally, all they can see is the problem itself. That roadblock becomes the entire landscape, completely clouding their judgment and basically draining their energy before they even try to take a step forward. But flip the script, and the pro mindset looks at that exact same difficult situation and instinctively searches for opportunities. Now, they aren't ignoring the reality of the roadblock, right? But their brain is wired to ask, okay, where is the hidden advantage here? They scan the perimeter looking for an open door. It's kind of like a video game where there's a huge boss fight, there's almost always some good loot nearby. And this perfectly illustrates that contrast in real time. When things go wrong, the poor mindset plays the victim, asking, man, why is this happening to me? It's a totally defensive posture. The pro mindset, though, actively extracts a lesson. They ask, what can I learn from this? See, one approach creates suffering, while the other creates a stepping stone. It's the exact same event, just processed through two completely different mental operating systems. Now, notice how this underlying mindset translates into managing tangible resources. The source points out that a poor mindset focuses pretty much entirely on consumption. Their primary relationship with resources, especially money, is just figuring out how to spend it. It's a very localized, short-term view of what resources are actually meant for.
Conversely, the pro mindset channels that exact same energy into creating value and building income. They look at resources not as something to just, consume, but as actual tools to construct something larger. It's a massive shift from being a passive consumer of the world to an active creator within it.
And that brings us to the action gap. How do things actually get done? Well, the poor mindset waits around for motivation to strike. They honestly believe they need to feel ready before they act. The pro mindset, they take action first and just let the motivation follow. They understand that action generates momentum, and momentum generates motivation. They absolutely do not wait for the perfect feeling. They manufacture it just by moving forward. Moving on to section 2, views on success. So when they see successful people, the poor mindset's default reaction is jealousy and criticism, because they view success as this finite pie. Seeing someone else win literally feels like a personal loss to them. It's a totally natural, though really unhelpful, defense mechanism to just tear down that success, to criticize it, mostly just to make their own lack of progress feel a bit more acceptable. The pro mindset, on the other hand, looks at that exact same successful person and feels inspired. Because they believe growth is infinite, someone else's victory is just ultimate proof of what's actually possible. As our source notes, they actively study that success. Instead of criticizing it, they reverse engineer the achievement to figure out what strategies they can steal and apply to their own lives. This directly impacts how they handle risk and ambition. The poor mindset fears failure primarily because of how it looks. It's this ego-driven fear of embarrassment. But in contrast, the pro mindset totally accepts failure because it teaches valuable lessons. They understand that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a necessary component of it. They just strip the emotion out of failing and view it as pure data collection. All right, section 3, the power of yet. When the poor mindset hits an immovable wall, say, a task they don't have the skills for, or a problem they've never solved, they simply declare, I can't do it. And that's it. With that period at the end of the sentence, they completely shut down. The brain just stops working on the problem because it's essentially been given permission to quit. But the pro mindset hits that exact same wall. They might even feel the exact same initial frustration. But they pause, and they add one incredibly powerful, trajectory-altering word to the end of that sentence. Yet. I can't do it yet. It acknowledges the current limitation, while simultaneously declaring that this limitation is strictly temporary. It forces the brain to stay engaged and figure out a path forward. That single word is literally the dividing line. It dictates whether you totally surrender to your current limits or commit to pushing past them. Just throwing in yet inherently assumes that your future capability is going to be far greater than your present capability. Because look, at the end of the day, a poor mindset is always going to hunt for excuses. If you believe your abilities are fixed and you're terrified of looking bad, your brain's primary job is to find a completely justifiable reason to stay exactly where you are. Excuses basically become a protective shield against the really hard work of growth. While the pro mindset, they relentlessly hunt for solutions. They simply don't have time for excuses because their eyes are totally locked on the opportunity waiting on the other side of that problem. They are actively architecting a way over, under, or straight through the obstacle just to keep moving forward. Let's wrap this up with Section 4, Rewiring Your Future. So the ultimate takeaway from our source analysis today is surprisingly simple. Your starting line does not dictate your finish line. Your thinking does. Changing your life really isn't about changing your location, your job, or your circumstances first. It fundamentally begins with upgrading your internal operating system. When you swap your mindset from poor to pro, all those external changes naturally follow suit. And I really want to leave you with this powerful final thought straight from the text. Winners don't have different problems. They simply have a different way of thinking. So I gotta ask you, the very next time you hit a massive roadblock in your life, are you gonna complain about the problem, or are you gonna shift your mindset and find the solution? If you found this explainer valuable, remember to keep growing every single day, and we'll see you in the next one.